I'm excited that you're here. Welcome to today's training. We're going into part 4 of analyzing our role in the toxic relationship. This is part of what's called compassionate accountability. This is where we're taking inventory about what is ours, what is not, what we ignored, what we tried to control in them and in ourselves, things like that. This helps us start to understand our experience in the toxic relationship cycle. Now, our role in it, rather. And here's the trick: don't do this process if you're just exiting a toxic relationship. You need to be focused on the validation of your experience rather than seeking what you did wrong. Do not do it in any other order. I'm going to restate that. Don't do it in a different order. Start with bringing sanity to your reality, understanding what happened for you, and that it's true, it's valid, it's real, and learning to trust your experience again. Then down the road, look at your accountability or role in it so you can take accountability for boundaries you allowed to be violated, boundaries you may have violated, needs and wants that you may have bypassed, red flags you ignored, the fantasy you had, things like that. So we're going to be really gentle with ourselves in this process. Now, if you're new to me, I'm Marshall Bircher, and I help codependents rediscover happiness after codependency, after narcissistic abuse and trauma. I assist them in basically accomplishing 3 things: help them heal themselves, help them come to know and discover who they are, and help them build happy, healthy relationships in their world. So there we go. I need to share this out to the community. The community is your safe haven here on the internet from narcissistic abuse, and it's also your guide, your launching pad into a life beyond codependency. It's where you can learn skills and tools and guidance and get support and be believed and be understood in your journey out of codependency and out of narcissistic abuse, out of childhood emotional neglect or neglect in general. We cover a gamut there. It's a community. So the focus is on helping restore your well-being, safety, and happiness in your life. So you can find the link above on Facebook, below on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Guys, I just achieved 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you for being a part of my YouTube community. Also, if you're on Instagram, it's nice to see you guys. I'm starting to publish my videos there as well. I love having you guys as part of our community here. I appreciate you. Let me get this shared out real quick. Let me know in the comments how you guys are doing, what's up for you in your world. And I'm gonna hit the share group button, and boom, there we are. All right. So today it's all about what do I need to own in my role in the toxic relationship. Part 4. It's about responsibility. Responsibility. What do I even mean by that? Well, responsibility are the things that we have stewardship over. They're part of our territory. There are things that we need to maintain or manage or nurture in some fashion. That can be our health, our wealth, our well-being, our emotions, our needs, our wants, our body, physical things like your home, apartment, cars, things like that. Responsibilities are the things in which fall on us as ours to take care of and ours to fulfill, especially as adults. Now, codependency, we tend to do something that's really enmeshing for us. We tend to take responsibility for other people's feelings, other people's choices, and other people's actions, and other people's desires. Okay? This is how we become enmeshed in their world. We do this for 2 reasons, generally. First reason is that this is how we feel useful. This is where we find a sense of value. If I can make them feel better, I'm valuable. If I can help them avoid a consequence, I'm valuable. If I can anticipate their desires and fulfill them, I'm valuable. These kind of things. If I can influence or control their choices, I feel safer and I feel valuable. These are things that codependency loves to do because its attempt is to feel valuable and to feel safe. It's technically the other way around. They want to feel safe so they can feel valuable, and that's what's going on there. The second thing we do with responsibility is it gives us a sense of connection with that person. So if I'm responsible for their emotions, I can feel connected to them. I can feel like I have a role and I matter in their world. We gotta let that go. We gotta embrace something very different from this. So, with responsibility, what we need to do, and what we have to start to do, is acknowledge what we took ownership of that is not ours. And there's 4 things to look at here: thought, or feelings, desires, choices, and actions. These are the 4 quadrants in which someone owns 100% of the time, all the time. This is essential to understand, because what it does is it sets up boundaries for you. It establishes an understanding of what is yours and what is not, helps you understand accountability and create accountability, which leads to sovereignty, boundaries, and safety in relationships. You are never responsible for the feelings someone else feels. You're never, even a child's feelings, because they're the ones with the feelings, not yours. You're not responsible for their choices or their actions or their desires. They are. Now, this is something you'll have to choose to lean into and accept and understand for yourself, because this is what's going to empower you in doing what matters most, and that is reclaiming your sanity, reclaiming your territory, and knowing what to do with what shows up for you. So, this step here is about going, I release myself of responsibility for how they feel. I release responsibility for how they act and for what they choose and for what they desire. This gets us into a sober contact with reality. This also gets us into contact with their behaviors. We're no longer trying to control or prevent them from doing something or trying to get them to do something else so that we feel safer. Instead, we're going to see what they do, and then we're going to have to make decisions for our well-being, and this is where responsibility returns to us. Okay? So in codependency, we tend to give the other person the responsibility for making us feel safe. We tend to give them responsibility for making us feel valuable. We tend to give them responsibility for making us feel lovable. We don't do this overtly. This is not something we are consciously doing. It's something that is subconscious to the behavior of taking responsibility for their feelings. So if I take responsibility for their feelings, choices, actions, or desires, I am in turn giving them responsibility for how I feel about myself. See? And this is the way it shows up. So if I disappoint them, I feel terrible. But if I please them, they feel pleased with what I did, I feel good about myself. That's how we know we're doing that. They are never responsible for how we feel about ourselves. They are not responsible for our sense of safety. Now, there's a caveat here with safety in a relationship. Relationship safety is the responsibility of everyone involved, but it ultimately falls on the person that's seeking safety first. So if I'm in a relationship where I don't feel safe, then I'm going to communicate that to the other person. And if they don't correct their behavior in a way that restores safety to me, then I need to make a decision about whether or not I need to stay in this relationship or not. Because safety is one of those fundamentals. Healthy relationships feel safe, even in conflict, even in difference, even when if they fail, there's a sense of safety because you're not fearing for your own well-being. You're not fearful that they're going to physically, or emotionally, or financially, or mentally harm you in some way because, you guys are having a conflict. In relationships where people don't know how to create safety, in relationships where abuse is present, relationship where manipulation and control is present, then there's going to be a strong lack of safety there. So, feeling unsafe in a relationship has context, it has nuance, and it requires an analysis of the relationship and how conflict is being managed and how we are comprehending the experience so we make sure that we're actually safe. So there's definitely nuance there. Probably do some trainings on that here soon. But ultimately, if my need is for safety, it is my responsibility to maintain and cultivate that need. I don't get to give that to them and then make them responsible for it all the time. Yes, in a relationship, we have a mutual agreement about restoring that and maintaining it or keeping it or whatever. But if they're not willing to do it or they're just simply not doing it, I need to take responsibility for my well being and make choices and take actions that restore that safety. This is what responsibility looks like. So with codependency, we have to take responsibility back for our sense of worth, for our sense of lovability, for our sense of safety, for our sense of well being. These are our responsibilities 100% of the time, all the time. Our job is to choose relationships that nurture and add to these things rather than seek them through relationships, hoping that somebody else will provide them for us. This is the rub here. This is the real healing in codependency, is the retrieval of value, the retrieval of safety, the retrieval of power, and the retrieval of action from others. We're no longer doing things to get love. We are being ourselves and seeing how they show up. It's a daring act, but it's an honest act. It's a sober act. That's how real healthy relationships function, because it's based on what's called the what, how, who model. What do I want? How do I want it? Who aligns with that based on their pattern of behavior? This is what I go into in depth in the relationship strategy. I teach you how to know what you want, because it's not just as simple as like, I want safety. Well, yeah, but what does safety look like to you? How does it behave? How does it feel? How does it talk? What am I doing that supports safety? What do others do that support my sense of safety? Then you got to start identifying this in your life. That's what the strategy, that relationship strategy is all about. It's helping you get really granular, really clear on what you want and need, how you want it, and then going out and discovering people who have that, and then learning how to build and pace a relationship appropriately for your wants and needs and for theirs. That's the magic of the strategy. So in this element, we have to retrieve that responsibility for our value, our safety, our well-being, our power, and we have to return to them accountability. We have to return to them consequence. We have to return to them fulfillment. We have to return to them the management of their trauma and their pain. Their pain and their trauma is their business, not yours. Your job is to stay out of it. You can, with healthy empathy as boundary that says, yeah, that really sucks. I'm here for you. I sit here with you. I use the analogy of a pit. So someone's in a pit and you find out they're in a pit, so you go and you visit them. But you don't climb in the pit with them. You lower a ladder and then you sit on the ledge and you say, I'm here. I'll be here as long as I'm able. And here's a ladder, and you can climb out if you want. Ladder would represent, hey, here's some resources that can help you. Go here, try this, kind of thing, if they're open to it. Sometimes they have their own ladder. They just need to be in the pit for a little while. But we don't make the pit our responsibility. The responsibility is theirs. It's their pit. They need to manage that. See, codependency, we tend to enmesh their pain with our pain and take responsibility for it. In reality, we need to access our pain, validate and legitimize it, own it, and treat it with respect and with value and with importance and with priority. And that allows us to then feel, one, seen and equal and valued. Two, in healthy relationships, that's how our emotions, our feelings, our wants and needs ought to be responded to. That doesn't mean that they have to agree to something or that they have to do something about it. It just means that they respond with importance, with respect, with value, and with priority to what you feel. They're like, yeah, I totally get why you feel that way. I mean, that's rough. Or, yeah, that's a beautiful thing that's going on for you. Things like that. Guys, this is the nitty-gritty here with codependency and with healthy relationships. It's based on this ownership principle. What is mine, what is yours? And we have to respect that. Taking responsibility for their feelings might provide you a sense of safety or connection, but it enables them not to take responsibility. It enables them to make you responsible. And it creates a blame game, and it results in resentments. Nobody grows, and nobody has autonomy. Nobody feels free to be themselves. And it's the same with them. I mean, they're putting it on you when you grew up. If you grew up in a narcissistic dynamic or you had a narcissistic relationship, they're blaming you for what they feel. So, of course, you assume that it's yours. Nope. You return that sender. It's like, nope, these are your feelings. You have to manage them. I'm sorry. It sucks. I know this sucks and it's hard. And what are you going to do with your feelings? What can you do about that? And then you let them make their choices. Because they have to live with it. They have to grow. You're not there to grow them. You're there to grow you. So when it comes to responsibility, it's really breaking down to what am I owning that is not mine? What feelings, what choices, what actions, and what desires am I owning that belong to them? And what feelings, choices, actions, and desires have I given them responsibility for that I need to retrieve back? That's how we break free of enmeshment. That's how we break free of codependency. It's also where we start entering into sobriety about what is real in this relationship, what's really going on. And it allows us to release responsibility on their feelings and then return to a healthy boundaried empathy, saying, yeah, that hurts. I see how that hurts. And then you let them solve it because they're capable. They're grown-ass adults. You need to take them off the victim pedestal because their trauma is theirs to work out. Now, if they're abusing you, guess what? If you think their abuse is a product of trauma and so you're empathizing with their trauma and ignoring their abuse, you're enabling them and you're bypassing your own impact. You need to retrieve your value from that and retrieve your power from that and go, the way you're treating me hurts me and that matters. Their trauma is irrelevant when they're harming you, period. You need to value your feelings, your experience more than their trauma. They earn the consequence that comes with being abusive, period. That's what they need. They don't need compassion and empathy. They need accountability and they need consequence because that's what wakes people up sometimes in that dynamic. They've had lots of empathy. They've had lots of help and they haven't changed. Think about that. Because abuse is the result of thinking they're entitled to transact pain onto other people because they're in pain. Okay? Because you have trauma and you're not out there abusing people, right? You gotta connect that dot because it's like, wow, your behavior hurts me. This stops now. But my trauma, your trauma, it doesn't matter at that point. It's irrelevant to the abuse. The abuse has to stop. Period. Or the relationship is done. This is the rub with it. This is hard. But this is what has to happen to get people the opportunity to wake up to their behaviors and grow. So you got to get out of the empathy response to abusive behavior and get into the fight response, or flight response by going, hey, this got to stop. We're done. This is a zero-sum game. No more. Go work out your trauma. Go get a therapist. And then when, we can talk about it down the road maybe or not. How you navigate that really is up to you and what consequences you want to live with. But then again, that's you owning your responsibility, your choice, your action, and your desires. This is the rub here, guys. This is the hard part. I call it swallowing glass. What am I responsible for? What do I need to do with it? Again, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you for being the badasses that you be. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. We're going to have a couple more videos in this segment around what to do next, like plotting out your healing, where you need to look at, things like that. I hope you get some direction on reclaiming your power and your happiness and well-being in your world. So look out for those. Have a safe day out there, and I will see you guys later. Okay? Bye-bye.